What's up, everybody? This is Justin Bozeman, and of course, I'm here doing another Fed Up Gamers podcast. This is the best, most innovative gaming podcast in the world today. This is the Fed Up Gamer, and so I'm here with my co-host, and we're supposed to have multiple co-hosts on, up to four of us, but some of us had some stuff that happened and had some things that went on, so we couldn't all make it. Hopefully, one of my other co-hosts can join us later on because I'm going to talk crap about him and his Nintendo, being a Nintendo apologist when he used to claim that he was not a Nintendo apologist. So we're going to start off by saying, well, you know what? I introduced myself. This is my y'all already know me. I'm Justin Bozeman, but I'm here with. I don't even know what your name is, man. That you're using now, man. You didn't
You
change
just
your
call
name.
me by my name, Daryl
All
Meadows.
right,
Daryl
man.
Meadows.
So I'm
We'll
here
keep it
with my
real
boy.
simple.
Yeah, so I'm here with my boy Daryl. Even though I don't think you have any videos up on your channel or nothing like that that you want
I
to.
have a couple. I have a couple reviews on my channel, on my YouTube channel. It's at Greasy Controller Gaming.
Oh,
But
okay. So that's even better, man. That's an even better brand name. So we're gonna talk about some stuff that we haven't talked about for about 3 years, man. And
right,
I know all the stuff that I said way back in the day. It came to pass, but this week, what was so interesting is this week we had a big week because this is the week that Sony decided to do their unveiling of the PlayStation. And so let me ask you something. And this is something that I just want to ask you. What are your thoughts about the unveiling of Sony's product right now? Like what did you think about it?
um, for the most part, I thought it was a good reveal the way they did it. I like their little video presentation. They're really coming into their own with these direct style presentations. They opened up with great games and great visuals. Oh my goodness, some of those games look amazing. But um, but I think they did a little bit of misleading that people were complaining about online. You can see it right now. But for the most part, I think they did a good job revealing it, and I think the price points are just about right to get people to not not buy the systems. They're not overpriced as in comparison to previous years because of the amount of technology they got going on in those. And the
What
system looks amazing.
okay, so you're talking about just more so the pricing point and how it looks in terms of like the way that the actual console itself looks, like the actual unit,
Yes,
or are you talking about the games? Because that's another story. Because I think some people were disappointed by some of the stuff that they saw, man.
that Demon Souls look fantastic on there. That looks fantastic on there. But their games are looking crazy good. I would say the amount of detail that they're getting on this system is going to be impressive, and it's just the start. So there's going to be technology is going to improve, and art's going to improve, and there's going to be new tricks that they all find out through over the years. And I think we're going to see some really impressive photorealistic games coming out of PlayStation this generation.
So, all right. So let me ask you something. With this reveal that they did, with this presentation that they did, um, we talked about for a long time, about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, about the gaming industry moving away from having physical media. So apparently, there is a system that they're going to come out with that only has the ability to access digital titles. And I guess there's supposed to be one that is for the physical media. What did you think about that idea for Sony to do that? Do you think that that's the future of gaming, or do you think that gamers will ever get to a place where they will allow companies to only use digital media? Because I don't think that it'll ever happen.
Well, if you think about it, like PC has been like fully digital for a long time now, and a lot of these consoles are just you know shrunk PCs down into a little box.
I
And
mean,
so I
that's
see
true.
I see the future as being digital, but I'm against digital. Like like I'm even on my PC, like I mean, I play my PC games digitally. I have no problem with that. But I don't even I don't even use Steam. And Steam is like the main distributor of games. If I can avoid Steam at all costs, I'll avoid Steam, and people will think I'm crazy for that. But like I just don't like that ecosystem as much as like private distribution from independent companies that send me the game. So it's like if I can go directly to
Hmm.
your website and get the game, or if I can go to the store and buy the game, if it uses Steam, like Modern Warfare or Call of Duty, like I'll have it for that. But at the same time, I'd rather just buy it at the store, install it on my computer, and have it like that with no need for a store.
My I don't know, man. This is maybe me getting old, man. Because on the last show, and I don't know if you heard the last show, me and John were talking about how we missed the days when you could get a game, take it home, put it in the console, and it plays immediately. You
Yeah,
go
yeah.
from playing the game to from taking it out of the box and putting it into your console. You could play the game in basically less than 1 minute.
I'm
Now,
gonna show you something. I'm gonna show you something. This is my Switch physical collection. I like games physically.
I
um,
agree.
and what the hardest thing for me to find is games that are complete on cart, where you pop it in, it has all the updates, and you play it, and you don't have
That's
any
the
new updates.
that's what I was going to mention, man. You pop in a game now. You go to the store and you pop in a
The
game
day
now.
one download.
Day one buggy patchwork that they did, and I'm sitting there
Yep,
like, and meanwhile you ain't even touched the game.
yep.
Like you haven't seen a cutscene. You ain't seen none of that.
And
You
it's
put the
like,
game in. It's like we have to install an update for this game that's 12 gigs, and
yeah,
I'm like,
or
what?
it's like, or you have to download the other half of the game.
Oh, that's even worse.
And
That's
it drives me crazy because like the Assassin's Creed games on Switch, like you have to download other parts of the game. And I'm like, okay. Or like I have games where everything's on the cart, and I love those games. Those are my favorite ones because it's like because what ends up happening is like say 10 years or 20 years from now, say like my Switch dies and I can't upgrade to a new Switch and I have to go buy a used Switch, but they don't have any of those downloads. And like, say the servers are offline, I can't even like some of these games require you to go online and download a patch before you can even play the game. So those games are just gone, even if they're physical, they're just gone.
they're just gone, straight gone.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, but the games that have everything on there, you can just play. And I've noticed Nintendo has done it with a few games, which is very interesting. More companies need to do this. Is after so many as they're remaking the game, they need to update the game on the cartridge. So like right now, like if I put Arms in, my Arms goes straight to like
Hmm.
version like 5.1, which is basically where it's at on the console. So it's like, okay,
Hmm.
they're updating the carts to have all the new downloads, but you have other games like third party developers, they don't do that. So like you have like older games like some of the what other game was it? Arms updates it. Mario Tennis is complete on cart now, but it's like some of the games you get them, and then even if you buy them years later, they haven't put all the updates onto the cartridge.
See, and that's what
And so you
messes
have to
me up,
download
man.
like yeah, because like if you have newer information or you have new data, like if you put like downloads and everything onto the cart later, it gives me a reason to go back and buy that game a second time and then sell the original copy for whatever to someone who doesn't care about that stuff.
So let me ask you this: do you think that the pricing point is fair for the no drive version of the PlayStation 5?
From what I'm hearing it's actually a really good price point because everyone's basically saying that there's no way that that Blu-ray drive costs $100. So you're getting a deal. It's almost a steal at that point because all that technology in there, they're basically saying would put it above the $400 price point on its own.
Do you think that this system is worth buying day one to get next generation titles based on what you saw?
There's only like one title that's not going to be on PS4.
I was leaning to that because I thought that Nintendo was the cross generational king in terms of making when they do make a first party game, they'll make it for the old system and for the new one. I think they got you with that with is that a Twilight Princess Was that Twilight Princess for like GameCube
GameCube,
for like
and
Wii?
then yeah, GameCube and Wii
Yeah,
Twilight Princess. Yeah,
and they got me with that with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the Wii U and then for Switch. So,
but now they got Breath of the Wild 2,
well,
and they got and they got
eh,
and they got Age of Calamity coming out. So you're going
we're
to be missing two
going
games.
we're going to get more into that in just a second. But let me ask you something else about PlayStation 5 because when they were talking about the games and the graphics and whatnot, was the surprising thing for you more so that most of those games were on PlayStation 4 still?
Yeah, yeah, because they had hyped it up that they weren't going to be on, they wouldn't be able to run on PS4 because of the new, all their little solid state dot drive technology and loading and everything that was going to be
That's what
required.
they always say.
Yeah, yeah,
I
but
miss I miss when you could just play games straight out of the box without any loading or anything like that. You put them in and
there
it
was
just worked.
always loading. There was always loading.
Because when you had a Sega, you
Sega
know,
loaded. It was like Sega. That was all loading.
okay, I don't count that though. But I
You
mean,
just couldn't see it because it was pretty fast for a cartridge.
I'm about to say like something like that to me is okay, but the loading that takes 1 minute,
Oh my goodness! Some of
a
these
minute
loading.
30 seconds, 2 minutes, you sitting there and you're just waiting for this thing and you see the blue line, like
Going
yeah,
real
we're
slow.
installing a game, and I'm like, come on, man.
It's
So
like why do y'all make it like so a lot of times I wonder with these developers, it's like, do y'all actually play your game? Like you play your games, right? And you develop them, but do you ever like when all is said and done, do you go back and play the whole game?
that's what
Because
they
if you go back and play the whole game, you would see like some of these bugs that are in the
I
game.
doubt they do that, man, because they're that's why they're always giving us broken games. And so that's why when I thought about this
Like
PlayStation 5 presentation, I was like, okay, maybe they'll come up, maybe this will be something like a way for them to say, all right, we know the direction that gaming is going in terms of having buggy games, patches
they
on day one, you know, having all this disk space taken up because the games are so big now, you know.
what was that NBA? The new NBA 2K21 was like 100 gigs or something like that. Something
And
crazy.
and that's crazy to me. One thing I
That's insane. And what a lot of people were saying is like these developers just being lazy and not compressing their files.
I think it's that, and that's the reason why I said I don't think that for people who are going out to buy a digital only device, one thing that you had to buy if you do buy a digital only device, you're going to have to continue to keep buying storage devices to go with it because there's no way that you can just stick with the system that you have and just put the memory onto the system. If you have a disk, if you have a digital only one, you're going to need multiple storage bricks, whether it be a
Yeah,
USB 5 or you buy a big thing of a big storage brick at the store, you're going to need some of that stuff. So for me, it's like you're actually adding more onto the price of your gaming by
yeah,
getting, for me, a PlayStation 5 with no disc. Does that make sense to you?
yeah. Because like you're saying, it's almost like the whole you needed memory cards back in the day. So it was like you had to buy a memory card. That was a thing you needed, or you just couldn't save any of your games.
So what did you think about the? I mean, because we of course we saw the system unveil, but what do you think about the controller, the upgrades that they might have made to the system? Do you think that those are adequate enough for a leap in terms of generation?
PlayStation controller is PlayStation controller. It's almost like they think they have a good thing and they haven't changed it, but people have been complaining about the controller like since the beginning of time.
Well,
Like,
you know what? I'll say this: they did somewhat change the controller between the PS3 and the PS4 because the PS4 controller is different. It is
what
it is
what I
different.
what I'm saying
It's a
is
little different,
the
even if it's the
the
same.
analog sticks are in basically the same exact positions,
I mean, yeah, I,
and
I don't know why they
even
do that.
even Nintendo, who had two analogs on their GameCube controller in opposite spots, even they, when they made their Pro controller for the Switch, was like, you know what, Microsoft has a good design, and then basically copied it for the Pro controller. Like
They should have copied
this thing is nice. This thing
they
is
should have
nice and comfortable.
they should have copied the design from the Wii U.
The Wii U had a good
I
had a
still
good
know
control.
guys who there's some guys who have a adapter where they use the Wii U Pro controller on the Switch
Nice, nice.
instead,
I
which is what I
I,
would
I
probably do.
I like my Switch Pro controller. It's very good. I have large hands, so it's very comfortable in my hands. Even like if I play with like handheld, the Joy-Con, oh my goodness, my hands cramp up, especially on my like twin stick shooters and stuff. I just my hands just be hurting. I'd be squeezing.
So what you're saying is you do like the direction that Sony went though with their system in terms of they're still going to have the exclusive games, even though a lot of those games are probably going to end up on PC, which to me
It's going to take them a little while.
defeats the whole purpose.
I think this PS5 is going to be like a PS4 all over again. You're going to have a few years until you have its like first real exclusive. Like what was PS4's like first real exclusive? Like Bloodborne. That was like years in.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
That was,
Wow.
but
And
as
it was crazy to me about this is that like my policy has always been I don't buy systems when they first come out. I always wait 2 to 3 years because I know that they're either going to drop the price or they're going to come out with a better model that is that doesn't overheat, a model that has a better controller to it, or a model that has more storage space, which is what they always do, right?
but
You
I
know,
mean,
that's what
yeah,
they always do. So and plus, I don't believe that, like you said, for the first usual year and a half, 2 years, most developers are just figuring out how to develop games for this console.
yeah,
So the sports games, the versions are going to still probably be better on the older console.
yeah,
Um, in terms of the exclusives coming out, it's not as if you can't play those same exclusives, whether they're 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old. I mean, that's the best time to go back because then the game is cheaper. You can
unless
get
you're
it for cheaper.
Nintendo.
And and more importantly, if you do that, all the updates are done and they're finished. All the
Yeah,
bugs are gone, all the DLC is out, and you probably could find a deal where you get the game for like 19.99 and you pay for the DLC and you get all that DLC, which probably you would have had to spend $100 on when it came out. You can get all that for about $60. So for me, I don't buy systems when they first come out, but
that's only if you're not gaming on Nintendo. If you're gaming on Nintendo, you're going to be paying $40 to $60 for the
yeah,
entire
well,
duration of the system.
yeah. Or which, by the way, that brings me to let me go to my next scene, and let me put you up like this. That brings me to my next thing about Nintendo because now that we're talking about Nintendo and what they do, are you okay with what I would call, and this is just me saying this, I want you to defend your company, man.
If I can defend them.
Yes. I want you to, and y'all see me moving this stuff around because I don't know how to use this program yet. So I want you, matter of fact, let me minimize my face so you can see his face. So
What?
so that way,
This
so that
lighting
way
isn't good in here. It's not shining on my beautiful face. Those I don't get the good polygons going.
I want you to defend Nintendo's anti-consumer policies. And what do you mean by that? Okay, let me say this. I still haven't bought a Switch because I said years ago that I refuse to buy a Switch until Nintendo comes out with a real home console version of this system, which apparently they heard me, so they're finally going to do at some point in the near future. But I also said that I'm not buying a system that has all the same games that I have on the Wii U, and they're charging $60 for a port that's been out 7 years already. So do you think it's cool for them to be making games like Pikmin 3 with
Deluxe,
some added
deluxe.
DLC? Yeah, with some DLC about 6 years after the fact when they could have just made a Pikmin 4. and they just could have just said, "All right, let's just port Pikmin 3 and make a brand new Pikmin 4 later on."
I think
Do
Pikmin
you
4 is
think
still
that it's
coming.
cool to charge $60 for a game that's that old that some of your fans already have this game on the Wii U? Is that okay? Is that the
It,
Nintendo seal of quality, Mister
that's the
Mister Nintendo guy,
that is the
Mister Nintendo Power? Who I get the 3 year subscription because I don't want to worry about it, and I know that Nintendo has the quality of games, so I'm not worried about it. Can you defend this type of anti-consumerism from Nintendo, or charging $60 for a Super Mario 3D World, adding a Bowser's DLC when they could have just made a whole new Super Mario World 2? Can you defend this? I want you to defend your company, man, because
okay.
because I don't think that you can.
So let's go back. I owned the DS, and I bought Mario Kart for that DS. And at some point in time, I didn't have Mario Kart on my DS. I think I traded it in or something. I didn't have it anymore. It was $35. And I said, I'm going to wait because it was probably at least after a year or two. I said, you know what? I'm going to wait for Mario Kart on DS's price to drop and then I'll buy it. Well, years and years and years went by, and
Mhm.
then 3DS came out, and years and years and years went by. So after about 8 years, I realized just Mario Kart on DS price just was never going to drop. It sat at $35 all of those years, and I was just like, I guess you just got to pay $35 for this game. So
I'm
so
about to say you should know better than that, man. You're one who knows that Nintendo ain't losing no money. They ain't losing no money off no sale. They're not selling nothing at no loss ever.
I was like, come on! I was like, it hasn't sold enough that where they're like, you know what, we can knock it down a little bit.
Nah, they're gonna get their money
I
every
was like,
time.
I was
They
like,
gonna get their money, man.
I was like, when it first came out, yeah, $35 day one. After like year 8, and the 3DS was out, and it was still $35. I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. So them coming out with Pikmin 3 Deluxe, I can understand why they want to sell it for 60 because they were like, look,
Mhm.
the Wii U didn't sell. We produced this game. We needed it to sell X
Uh-huh.
number. We needed to sell X number to be profitable.
Uh-huh.
It might not have hit their internal numbers that they needed to sell. So my guess is they're like, hey, the Switch is here. Every single game we release on the Switch just sells like gangbusters compared to previous versions, regardless of whether or not it was on the Wii U. Like, look at Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That game is selling like crazy still. Like, to this day, we're 3 years later, and that game is still selling.
I gotta offer some pushback on that because I know for a fact that Nintendo did not lose money on the Wii U. They
No,
did
no,
not.
no, no, no. I meant on Pikmin specifically, on the individual games.
But that was never like a big time seller. I think Pikmin once only sold what, like 1 million copies, maybe.
I think they want
Pikmin
Pikmin to
two
be a
might have sold
bigger
maybe
flagship.
maybe two.
I think Pikmin they want to be bigger because like if you look
I
at
mean, maybe, but
the Switch is making everything like. I had a friend we were discussing Animal Crossing before it came out,
that's
and
something else that we're going to get into.
she was sitting there. She was like, "Look," she's like, "I don't know why they pushed back the release date for Final Fantasy VII Remake." I was like, "You
Uh
don't want to." I was like, "You don't want to be caught in Nintendo's marketing plans for Animal Crossing." And she's like, "Well, Animal Crossing is big, but I think Final Fantasy VII will outsell it." I was like, "You don't realize how big Animal Crossing is." And as we still see to this day, Animal Crossing is probably Nintendo's biggest IP at this point
well, it's their biggest IP in this, definitely
in this generation.
in this
In this
generation.
generation.
But let me give you more of Nintendo's anti-consumerism. All right,
Okay.
they knew that people wanted a new Animal Crossing game since when was the last one
GameCube.
that ever came out? Yeah, since GameCube. The Wii comes out. What type of Animal Crossing game like this was on the Wii?
I know they had Amiibo Festival on
Ah!
Wii U.
Yo, don't even mention that game, man. Don't even mention that game. See,
they
now
had
you know why I'm so mad being a Wii U owner. I
because
saw
you
the
got
game.
shafted.
Yeah, look. I saw the preview for this game, and I'm thinking like, yes, they're finally going to come out with another Animal Crossing. And nope, it's
They
an
had
Amiibo festival. They listen. Nintendo screwed me, the Wii U owner, consistently. And so I said, you know what?
you're jaded.
I'm not going to come back because I've learned my lesson. That's like a girl who keeps going. That's like a girl who keeps going back to a guy who keeps cheating on her. And the
Mhm.
guy says, I ain't going to cheat no more. But you know, he's still got all them same numbers in his phone. He
But
ain't
but
delete one number. That's
but
like me going back and to Nintendo, like, well, you know what? I'm going to buy your product, even
but
though
this
you've
time
shown me that you don't
you've
care.
waited, and you've seen change. They've been dropping new games. They've been dropping
But
heat.
that's the thing. But
They've been
here's the
dropping
thing.
fire.
Here's what I argue though. I don't
You want
believe that they have changed. And I'm gonna prove to you why. All
okay,
right.
okay.
So there's been a game drought for Nintendo the same way with the Switch as there was with the Wii U. If you remember in other generations, they came out with a more diverse and more select use of first party IP titles more consistently year after year. And with the Switch, there's absolutely no reason why they shouldn't be coming out with at least 4 to 5 to 6 first party titles every single year. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason is, and you know this, the reason is prior to the Nintendo Switch, Nintendo always had to develop games for their handheld division and for the home console. When they decided to combine the two, wasn't the whole point of them combining the home console with the handheld? Wasn't it so that they could just streamline everything together and put everything together so that they wouldn't have to divert their attention away from this and away from that? So that means that you should have double the time to be able to come up with the same games that you've been coming out with for both your handheld version of your system. Remember when they used to have the big time first party IP titles for the 3DS and for the DS and for the Game Boy Advance, and then they would come out with something for the GameCube that would be something else. Like they would consistently do that. So you mean to tell me that in 2020, with them combining these two units together, you mean to tell me that we're still waiting 6 to 9 months between Nintendo first party IPs, and they're giving us stuff that they should have already been developed. See, the thing is with even something like Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing was supposed to come out last year, but they purposely held it back because they knew that they didn't have enough games developed for the system this year, which is a problem. Like that's a problem. Like for the Nintendo fan, you should be appalled, and I'm going to prove it. All right, I know you're sitting there like, oh man, you're just hating on Nintendo. Let me take the liberty of reading something that I did some research on. All right, and I know that you're very familiar with this generation and with this era. Let's go back to around the year, which is my favorite console generation, by the way, the fifth generation with the Dreamcast, the Xbox, the PlayStation 2, and the GameCube. Let's go back to 2002, shall we?
GameCube, one of my favorite consoles.
Yes.
I had a huge
Let's,
collection for that.
yes. Let's read the listing of what Nintendo would come out with when they had both, watch this, the GameCube to develop for, and they also were developing stuff for the Game Boy Advance. Let's read the list. In 2002, they come out with Super Mario World Advance 2 for the Game Boy Advance. I know that you remember that game. A cult classic, which they're finally just now coming out with, Super Mario 3D All Stars. That came out in 2002. Super Mario Sunshine, right?
That was on the Wii.
Yoshi's Island, Super Mario Advance 3 that came out the same year, right?
Yeah.
Metroid Prime for the GameCube comes out. Mario Party 4 comes out. Animal Crossing comes out. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, and Four Swords on Game Boy Advance. This is all in the same year. That's not a 3-year window, ladies and gentlemen. This is the same year for both their handheld division and for their home console division, right?
Yeah.
So now, in terms of GameCube the next year, which I can read off these listing of games, classics: The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. Remember that?
Yeah.
Wario World, Mario Golf, Toadstool Tour. One of my favorite games, by the way.
That was a good game. It was a good game.
Wait, something else. Where is my Mario Golf game at?
Where's Mario Baseball and where's Mario Strikers?
I agree. Oh wait, that even goes back to, let's say, 1997. Where's Diddy Kong Racing 2? Where is that?
That was Rare.
I mean, they own the IP though.
Do they?
For the Diddy Kong Racing? They own the Diddy Kong character.
They do own Diddy Kong, but that was developed by Rare, so I don't know.
Oh, so that's your excuse for why for in the last 25 years they haven't come out with a sequel to a game that everybody liked.
Look,
that was groundbreaking.
They were trying to make their own Metroid Prime game, and look where that got them. That got them starting over and going right back to Retro Studios because they can't make a first-person shooter that's a space adventure.
I'm about to say, well, let's go back to 2003. They came out with, on the Game Boy Advance, Fire Emblem. Of course, a game that everybody still likes to this day. Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Brothers 3, Game Boy Advance, Mario Kart Double Dash. A very beloved version of Mario Kart.
I think they should do a Double Dash 2. We have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Why not do Double Dash 2? Bring back the Double Dash mechanics. And you have a single kart racer and a double kart racer on the same system.
But look, that's even more evident. Think about this. They didn't even make a Mario Kart game for the Switch. They just ported the one from the Wii U.
I mean, we got
everyone. Every generation has their own version.
We got Mario Kart Live coming. Leave it alone. Me and the girlfriend are already ready for Mario Kart Live. We got the hardwood floors in here. Look, we got these hardwood floors in here. God. We got the hardwood floors. We gonna make our little maps around this place, and we gonna race it.
I had to mute myself so that I wouldn't say something while you were saying all that, man. Are you serious, man?
We are getting Mario Kart Live. Mario Kart Live.
Mario Party 5 came out in 2003. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga.
Yep.
F-Zero GX comes out. Which, when was the last F-Zero? When was the last F-Zero game that they came out with, man?
That is the last F-Zero game they came out with.
That's ridiculous to me.
And that one had an arcade. That had an arcade version too.
And this well, let me read off this last title, and then this one makes me even angrier. Then in 2003, my personal favorite, Star Fox Adventures came out.
Crystal was bae.
Star Fox Adventures.
People hated on that game. They didn't like it. I thought the game was great.
That game was well ahead of its time. And guess what? Nintendo has refused to make another one. Instead, what they did for me, the Wii U owner, they came out with Star Fox Zero with crap motion controllers and didn't even go back to the well for a formula for a game like this that I would actually like. So that's within the first 2 years of this system. I just read off the first 2 years.
Now,
of this system.
So let me counter now, because in the first 2 years of Switch, we had a lot of bangers, and I'm talking about like original bangers. So we had ARMS, we had Splatoon 2.
Wait, stop right there. All Splatoon 2 is, let's keep it real, it's DLC for me, the Wii U owner, that I never got. That's all it is.
No.
Splatoon 2 is, man.
No, it's not. There's all new mechanics. They took out. They changed all the mechanics from Splatoon 1.
That's like your same argument with
there's more maps.
Super Smash Brothers. That's like your argument with Smash Brothers. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. There's no way that they took out all all of the mechanics because we know that Nintendo takes
No,
forever
the major
to
mechanics
bring
they
new game.
changed. Like the specials in Splatoon 1 were overpowered. The specials in Splatoon
That's
2 aren't
all they
overpowered.
did, man. All they did was they just put basically DLC, a
But
very
that's like
fancy version of
but that would be like
DLC.
saying that'd be saying like Smash Brothers Ultimate is no different than Smash Brothers 64. It's still a new game that was created for that specific system.
It's
Splatoon
the
2.
same game, man.
So
It's the,
what?
it's the same game.
Pokemon's had the same formula since the original Game Boy. Beat 8 gyms, go to the Elite Four, become champion. That's Pokemon every year. And why?
But
And
we know that
everyone wants.
Pokemon was always a game where I always thought that the computer cheated in Pokemon. But that's another story in and of
Okay,
itself.
so then we can't say Breath of the Wild, but we still have like let's see, we have Pokemon Let's Go. Those were very new games. They took their little Go method. You had look. I even got the Pokeball. Ooh, I even
So
got the
you've
Pokeball.
named in essence basically one game that you can
No,
put.
you had 1-2 Switch. You had Snipper Clips.
Oh God!
These are new IPs. These are new IPs. Nintendo trying new things out. So of course everything's not going to be a hit. But then you still had Xenoblade Chronicles 2. That was a port. Let's see. I was
You're
I was
right.
looking
That's
at
the
Poke
port.
Tournament. But I mean, you still had
Pokken
Damon X.
Tournament, a
You
Wii
had
U
Damon
game.
X Machina. You had Damon X Machina. You had Astral Chain. You have like Nintendo put out a lot of bangers in the first 3 years. Fire Emblem, new game.
I didn't have a problem with the first year. I didn't. First year
Okay,
was okay.
yeah, because
Even the second
they
year
did it.
was like okay.
But you still had Yoshi's Crafted World, Kirby Star Allies.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me give you an interesting fact.
Okay,
Yoshi's Crafted World is not better than Yoshi's Woolly World on the Wii U.
I'm not saying it's better. It's
It,
still you wanted
it's,
them to come out with multiple games. They're coming out with games.
listen.
Every
It's not
game
even the
can't be
same.
better than the last game.
It's not even the same quality
It's
as
not,
Yoshi's
but
Woolly World on the Wii U.
Woolly World
If
looks
you
like a lot of fun.
if
I
you
wish
if
I could
you
have played that. You know it's going to
see
get ported soon. You know
see
it's going to get
see
ported soon.
no, I don't know because they came up with Crafted World and they made people think that this must be what Woolly World's about. Woolly World is just a way better game. Like that's the type of stuff that I'm talking about
But I
though.
mean, even this year, they didn't only have one game this year. They had Animal
That's
Crossing. They had
unacceptable.
they had Paper Mario.
Oh man, Paper
And
Mario ain't a game. That's not a game that I really play, man.
that's just because it's not for you doesn't mean other people weren't looking forward to it
You
and
you
playing it.
sound like Chaz now, man, and
But that's
he ain't on,
every game.
and he ain't on. He's like, oh
Every
man, it's just
look,
you
look.
don't like these games.
I don't even play Paper Mario, and I'm still acknowledging it. I'm not a Paper Mario fan, but I still acknowledge that they created it this year for the Paper Mario fans.
Okay, let me ask you something. When I read off those games year by year, what did you see? You saw that there was at least 1 to 2 games every year that fans of every genre could play, right? Like, would you say that that's fair? Looking at the GameCube's history, 2002, 2003, 2004, they came out with games in all genres every year. That if the Nintendo fan didn't like maybe Mario games, they could say, "Oh, you know what? I'll just buy Metroid Prime."
Yeah, but
Or you know what?
they're still doing that. I mean,
Nah,
we got
man,
Sushi Striker, the way of
nah, man.
Sushiro.
The only game they came out with this year was Animal Crossing. I think they're about to come out with what are they?
Paper Mario, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition
Nah.
with DLC.
Which, by the way, it won't be definitive, but that's another story in and of itself.
It has a whole new extra story part to it,
Let me tell you something
and
very
it's out.
interesting because I didn't even get to 2004 and 2005 with the GameCube because here's the more important thing.
Luigi's Mansion 3.
Here, uh, that's okay. All right. Now, my question is this: with them not having a handheld division to develop for, why are they only coming out with those limited amount of titles?
They're not. They're doing ports at the same time, but
That's even worse. They should have
no,
all
because
the
you
games.
gotta remember, games take years to develop, sometimes
Oh
3, 4
gosh.
years. So how do you expect them to go from making one game to another game, or you want them to all live like Sakurai and just never stop developing?
But that's what their biggest complaint was all these
We
years.
have
They always
COVID.
complained.
This year is COVID.
Oh gosh,
They
the
can't.
COVID
They
argument. Oh
no.
man, Sony's coming out with a brand new system this year. All COVID does is make you stay in. You can stay in the house and write code. You can stay in the house and do
Not
the
if you.
gaming thing, man.
Not if you keep everything under wraps. Nintendo don't want their stuff getting out. They're super secretive.
Or this is something that I predicted years ago, and I'll go back on the record again, and I'm gonna say it like this. Watch this. Here's the thing. I predict that this new console that they're coming out with, a lot of people think it's just a Switch Pro or whatever. I don't think it's a Switch Pro. I think it's their home console that they wanted to come out with. And I think it just happens to connect to Switch stuff, and you can connect to Switch stuff. I think that's what their research and development team was doing, because I
I
always felt like the Switch was a handheld that was just going to hold over for Nintendo to get their home console out so that they could compete in the
well,
next generation. And I
if
think
you
that's what
think
it is.
that, I think it's going to be another handheld hybrid because they bought those Exo screens that were
I
super
don't think so.
expensive.
I
So
think
you
they're
think
gonna.
they
I
bought you?
think they're
So
gonna
you think
use the
they brought?
Switch.
You think they spent extra money on touch screens that they're not going to be using on a system?
I think they're going to use it, but I think that this system is a home system. I think that when they come out with another handheld,
You think it's
it'll
going to be like a Wii U again, where it's going
yes,
to have the
yes. I think it'll be compatible with this new thing that they're coming out with.
okay?
And I think that's what they're going to keep doing. I think that's what the research and development team was trying to do,
Like I
trying
said,
to
they've
seamless
always been trying to
transition.
get that handheld and home console experience together. If you look at it,
Yes.
you had the Super Game Boy, you had the Game Boy Player for the GameCube. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like they've always been trying to get that the
Mm-hmm.
handheld experience to be synonymous with the home console experience, and the Switch is the first time they've gotten there. And that's why I said, look, I said the Wii U was a prototype. I've always said the Wii U was a prototype.
It was.
It, I
I
said
can
because
agree with
they said, hey, we want a system that sits at home, but you can play it on the go. So I think you could be right. They could, and so they made a controller for the Wii U. So they're like, okay, this is how it works in this setup. So now if you say, hey, if we got a dock, what if we had a more powerful dock, and you just pop the Switch into it, and then it used the dock's power to give it more power when it's on TV, but you could just take it on the go with you if you wanted to as well, and you just pull it out and go.
I think that's where they're getting to, and
I think,
I think eventually what they want to do is they want to make it so that this new thing, when it comes out, it can keep getting games from the current generation,
yeah,
and all they need to do to update the hardware is every couple years they upgrade. Um,
you either upgrade the dock with more power or you upgrade the handheld with more power. I
that's exactly it.
I said this whenever Switch first came out because this tablet. I was like, this has got a lot of power in it, but once you upgrade it, I was like, you could just toss this as an upgrade, or you could have a dock that has an upgrade, and then every few years you just rotate them. Be like, okay, well, guess what? We got a new powerful dock that you can get your 4K resolutions and 60 frames per second on. I was like, but now we got a new handheld. You get your 1080p to whatever 1440p and go on in your 630 frames per second games on.
I'm about to say now my issue with the Switch though now, and this has been
You
my
should
issue,
get a Switch. You'll love it.
and this is my issue. If they have some games that I know that I want to play. Like for instance, I'll give you an example. I definitely am going to play Breath of the Wild 2. That's no doubt because like I said, I played that. That's like one of my favorite games
You're gonna
ever.
play that prequel too.
I don't know if I don't know anything about the prequel, but if it's
So basically, they
set
went to.
before Breath of the Wild 1, I'll probably play it.
So basically, they went to Koei Tecmo and they said we needed. They said the Great Calamity War is basically all about like a huge war, and they said we want to make a Dynasty Warrior style game, a war like Hyrule. They said we want to make Hyrule Warriors, but we're going to make it a prequel to Breath of the Wild, so that you could play that war that happened before Breath of the Wild.
Another underrated Wii U game, by the way.
Oh yeah. Hyrule Warriors is good. But what they did, they said this is they tied it in. They said it's canon. They worked directly with the developers, so the artwork and everything looks exactly like Breath of the Wild. Everything looks perfect. It's almost like they say these are the assets from Breath of the Wild. We're gonna make Dynasty Warriors now with the 100-Year Calamity War. And so now basically the Breath of the Wild is a trilogy. You have prequel, first, and second. And that's going to be amazing once it's all said and done because
Yeah,
the Age of Calamity comes out this year.
yeah, and one thing that I was disappointed about, and I wish that they had done it, but I guess maybe in a sense they were smart not to do it if they were going to come out with a sequel, is when the first game ended, I wanted there to be. That's one of the few times where I wanted there to be post game DLC that I
They
would have
did have
played.
post game DLC.
Well, it wasn't. It wasn't necessarily like it wasn't necessarily set though after the story post game.
Okay, so you
Like
wanted
you
some
didn't walk
like
around.
more information.
Yeah, like you didn't walk around with Princess Zelda and rebuild the kingdom right then and there. It was set like
Yeah, it
a
was
little
like
bit during the
the
game.
all the champions and everything.
Yeah, like I would have liked for them to have like after the game ends, and if you've never played Breath of the Wild and beat the game, I'm gonna try not to spoil it, but I would have liked for after the game ends and you see the scene where you know you're able to get a conclusion to the storyline. I would have liked for them to have started the DLC there,
Okay.
and you can basically talk to her and you can explain to her what has happened since she's been, you know, put away in that spell for however many years she was in that spell. You know what I mean? I would
Yeah.
have liked that, but apparently the second game, like you said, this new Breath of the Wild is supposed to be about that. I just hope that what they do is they kind of keep the same engine, so to speak.
It looks like they
Maybe
plan to.
yeah, maybe just update the graphics and maybe get some new mechanics here or there. But for the most part, you
Have
know,
you seen Age of Calamity at all?
I think I saw the preview.
Do you see the trailer? Yeah.
I think I saw the preview when they did a direct on it, and so like
The art style is so beautiful.
for me, the thing that would make me buy another Nintendo console because this was always my complaint. I always complained about this, and my complaint always was I would love for Nintendo to get their systems to the point in which you have their great first party IPs on the system, but when games come out, for example, when games come out like Watch Dogs Legion or Cyberpunk, those games also come out to that system. Because I said if that were the case,
Then you would never need another system because you'd have the best first party IPs just about
that's what
and the best third party
That's what I'm
IPs.
saying, and what I'm saying. Well, I would still need an Xbox because I still love Halo, and I just like the
Yeah,
Microsoft
yeah.
brand and whatnot. Because I still
I,
and we
I'm
did,
actually
we did that show.
I'm actually very glad that Microsoft has said, you know what, we're not going to chase Nintendo fans and we're not going to compete with Nintendo. We're going to compete with PlayStation. So we decided that we're just going to throw some of our first party games on Nintendo systems because why not? But
I wonder what games though that they're going to put on there. Though.
I mean, we got Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisp coming out. Or
See,
Ori and the Will of the Wisp, they are out actually now, but
I
they're
don't
coming out
mind
physically
with that.
too.
I've always felt like
And then you got Cuphead.
I've always felt like I've always felt like Nintendo and Microsoft would have done well to do a partnership together so that Microsoft could invade the Japanese market.
I think that's what they've been doing. I think that's what their attempt is to do. Is because they're like, we can't break into the Japanese market, but these games are great games, and they would sell in the Japanese market if they could have access to them. And so I think that's why we got Ori because
Hmm.
Japanese love platformers, and Ori is doing insanely well on the Switch. And we got Will of the Wisp, and of course Cuphead. These are all 2D platformers that are very popular among Nintendo fans.
But the problem that
And
like
then
with
Minecraft is selling like crazy. And then you got Sakurai, everyone Smash God Sakurai, who's like, I love Minecraft. And so everyone's thinking, oh, he's gonna put Steve in Smash Brothers.
I think that's my biggest problem though with Nintendo because I think about what Nintendo could do,
Yeah.
and as a fan, I'm the type of person who I demand more. I'm not a gamer who just says, "Well, just be happy with what they put out." I'm like, no, because I remember when I was on the other end of the spectrum. Because I'm sure that you remember this era where, and we talked about this. I don't know how much of the show you heard last time we did, but we talked about how in a previous time, if you're a kid, I know that this might sound foreign to you, but believe it or not, as a kid, most of us back in those days, about 15, 20 years ago, we didn't have the ability to own multiple consoles at the same time.
No, your
We didn't
parents
have
had
the
to buy them.
ability to just buy whatever we wanted to buy or have our parents just buy us whatever system that we wanted. And believe it or not, we didn't have a thing called, just going online. That was a foreign concept. The only company that started to do the online thing, which they were well ahead of their time to the
With
point of,
Sega,
yeah, they put themselves out of business as Sega. To this
because
day,
they had
I'm
Sega
still
Channel.
amazed with that they did Sega Channel at that time where the technology I like if you remember
That was cutting edge because
that's
that was
cutting
before
edge.
it was before internet was even like 28.8. It
And
was like 14.4 or
yes,
5,600 or whatever.
yes, and it was still like basically dial-up type speeds.
It was slower than dial-up. I mean, it was dial-up, but it was like the slowest of dial-up.
And that's amazing to me that they had the foresight to think to themselves, like, what if we were able to put all our games onto a service
And you could
that you
download
pay
it,
for,
you could stream it. They were
and
trying to
you could
do
stream it?
game streaming
Dude,
before, like, because you couldn't download anything,
you
or
can't
like
download it.
there was nothing to save it to. They were
Yeah,
literally trying to do game streaming before internet was even fast enough to do
yes.
game streaming.
They were doing Game Pass way back in 1995,
I
1996.
remember I remember trying so hard to play Echo the Dolphin on Sega's channel. I had a cousin that actually had it, and like it was so laggy.
I
It
remember.
was
Look, I remember. There was only one person who I knew that had Sega Channel, but I remember just being impressed about the fact that all the games that I wanted to buy, that I knew that my parents wouldn't buy, like I could just play them. And I'm and
yeah.
I'm like, you mean I could just play it for free? Like I don't gotta pay now? He's like, yeah,
I mean,
just
you have to pay for the Sega channel.
yeah.
You have
He's
to pay
like,
for the
yeah, just
internet.
yeah. He's like, yeah, just choose the game that you want to play and just play it. To me, the fact that they were that cutting edge and innovative, but nowadays video game companies aren't that innovative. Like
No, that's why PlayStation 5 exists. Even
exactly. So
even Microsoft tries to like rebrand away from previous systems. Like you have
in,
like
in a sense,
they still stick to the Xbox the same way Nintendo still sticks to Nintendo. But it's like you had the Xbox, then you had the Xbox 360, then you had the Xbox One, then you had the Xbox One X.
yep,
Now you have the
yep,
Xbox Series. So it's like, but Nintendo was like, you had Nintendo, then you had the Super Nintendo, then you had the
yep.
N64, then you had the GameCube, then you had the Wii, and then the Wii U flopped because they tried to steal Wii branding, and it didn't
That
work.
was
And
and that was
now you have
yep.
the Switch, and look
And
at the
that was the
Switch.
reason why they got messed up. And I think and here's the thing that messes me up with the
They
Wii U.
they
And
didn't
this
try hard enough on the Wii U
I
to
agree.
to get the customer to understand what it was. Like
Yes.
I literally assumed whenever the Wii U came out, I was like, oh, it's just a controller for the Wii. Like that's literally like the consensus among most people when it first came out. Oh, it's just a controller for the
And
Wii.
this is the same
And then you
Nintendo
walk
fan
in,
who had a 3-year subscription to Nintendo Power. And and
then
you
you
didn't
walk
even
into
know it.
then you walk into the store and you're like, okay, how much is a Wii U? And they're like 300. You're like, why? It's just a controller. And they're like, no, you have to buy the whole system. I'm like, why do I got to buy the whole system when it's just a controller? And they're like, we don't know because we know it's just a controller. Like those people in the store didn't even understand what it was. And then you like actually start diving into it, you're like, oh, it's a whole system. It's not just a controller. So why did they market it like you? They're like, well, it's the Wii U. They didn't market it properly.
And you know what's crazy about it, and this is why I talk crap on the Switch. The Switch is getting more sales, and for some reason with gamers now, sales equates to being a great system, which
Because if you look at PlayStation, PlayStation always gets sales, so they automatically just basically say PlayStation's the best system because it always has the most sales. But then whenever
yeah,
you point out that PlayStation didn't beat the Wii, then it's all, well, we have better exclusives.
yeah. And
They're
me,
like then
me as a
then it
gamer, I
becomes
don't
and
look at
then
it like
like when you look when you bring up the Wii, they're like, well, it was moms and it was like soccer moms and grandmas buying the Wii. So
Yeah,
now who buys it matters. But as long as PlayStation's winning, it doesn't matter who buys it. It doesn't matter if people
I,
only bought it to have a
I,
Blu-ray player and a DVD player
I
and
can
a
agree with
Netflix
that.
player. They
I
don't
can
care about people that bought it for that.
I can agree with that 100%. And the reason why I can agree with that is this. Um, for some odd reason, the Wii U, and this is why I talk crap on the Switch. It has more features than the Switch, but yet the Switch gets more love for doing less than what the Wii U did. And I
When
never understood it. Like I never understood the fact that the Wii U had a better online infrastructure. It had a better virtual console game library. It had an internet browser that was the best browser that you could do all types of cool stuff with, like watch anime and everything else.
you know
It
when
had
when
it
the
actually had voice chat. It actually did have voice chat. It actually had video that you could video to
the
each other.
DS had voice chat.
Yeah, like, and it was free. You didn't have to pay for it. It was free, and it had access to things like Netflix or Amazon Prime and things of that nature. Like,
It's but the thing is you can't blame the Switch for not having Netflix and Amazon Prime because
oh,
no. The reason I say that is because Nintendo doesn't develop those for their system. Those companies develop them. Like Crunchyroll hasn't been added to anything new lately at all. Like people are like waiting for Crunchyroll on new
let me
systems, and
unmute
they're like
myself.
they won't even put Crunchyroll on stuff. And I'm like, why won't they put Crunchyroll on these new systems?
There's the Nintendo apologist coming out of them.
But that's not apologizing for Nintendo. Nintendo can't make Amazon develop Amazon Prime for Switch. That's why
There's the
we
Nintendo
have we
apologist.
we
There he
we
is.
we have
I
Hulu, we have
I
Netflix,
knew.
we have Nico Nico, we have Inky Pen, we have all these other platforms where you can watch and stream stuff, but Netflix isn't making theirs. And people are like, why aren't y'all? They're like, well, we don't see the demand there. Like, why are y'all being
That,
lazy?
that, all right. How
Like,
much?
I would
How
have a
much do you want
Netflix.
to bet? How much do you want to bet on day one when PlayStation 5 comes out? There will be a Netflix app for it.
I bet you because Netflix thinks PlayStation. You gotta remember. I
Go
told you.
on.
I
Please
told you.
defend your company. Please
But I'm
keep
gonna.
defending this company, man.
Netflix will develop for PlayStation because PlayStation is an entertainment console. So it's used. People literally will buy a PlayStation and they'll buy an Xbox because it's a Blu-ray player, it's a CD player, it's a DVD player. They can watch their movies on it. How many times do you look on your system and see people online and all they're doing is watching Netflix or something? Like I remember Tim used to complain. He said, "How are you guys gonna have a PlayStation and all?" He's like, "And I'd be trying to play with y'all, and all y'all do is be on Netflix the whole time."
I mean, I will admit, like you said, for the PlayStation 3 generation, it was Blu-ray, Netflix, the occasional
And
Kingdom
PlayStation 2
Hearts
was
game.
DVD.
Yeah, it was the occasional
And
Kingdom Hearts
PlayStation 1 was
game.
CDs. People love playing their music on there. Because remember, you could put the game in, like if you put like a racing game in, you could pop the racing game in, and then you could pop the disc out once the game loads, and then put your music disc in and play your own music while you were
That
playing
is,
on PlayStation.
that's very true. That's something that is a hidden thing that a lot of people don't remember about those consoles.
Yeah. So it's like I get why people because remember DVD player in the PS2 was the cheapest DVD player out there because you go to the store and buy a DVD player for
We
$300,
all
but you get
right.
a PlayStation 2 for $200.
Listen to this. You remember we did the last show, and me and
Yeah.
John were talking about the most underrated console. Did you hear why we said that Generation 5 was probably the most underrated era of gaming?
Generation 5.
Yes, because we were talking about how the PlayStation 2 came out and it got all the fanfare because at the time, like you said, it had a DVD player. And a DVD player, like you said, at that time was like $300 on its own or
Yeah.
$400. I
It was
remember the one that
expensive.
we got, it was like $400 at the time because we actually had a DVD
And all
player
that
by
did was
itself.
play Blu-rays.
Yeah,
And your PlayStation 2 could
yeah.
play games too.
Well, you know what? Our DVD player was weird. It was probably like one of the best DVD players I think, like
But
on the
I'm saying
market
it was
ever.
still just DVD player
Well,
at the end of the day.
it would play CDs.
Yeah.
It would also play mini disc. It also would play picture disc, and you also could plug in like computer stuff to it randomly at
Oh,
the
do
time.
you remember that giant remember when we were in math class, I think it was, in like 8th grade, and they had that giant like laser disc player?
Yes,
That was
yes,
crazy. Remember they had the
yes,
little guy that did that little magic trick with the with the
yes,
money?
yes. Because at that point in time, like you said, nobody had a DVD player yet. That was like a foreign entity. That was like a foreign entity, and at the
Yeah,
time, it was groundbreaking. So,
it
like you
was.
said, if you can get a DVD player for cheap, getting a PlayStation 2, and it's expensive, that automatically sold the system. I think for me, that's what sold the PlayStation 2.
And that's the thing, is that's what literally people have always used their PlayStations for. They can game on their systems, but they've also always used it as a DVD player, as a movie player, as some sort of entertainment other than
Hmm.
gaming.
Hmm.
So they buy into that idea, and everyone always makes fun of Nintendo for like their controller gimmicks. But I'm like, the idea behind a gimmick is to get someone to buy something. I was like, so a DVD player and a game console is a gimmick because it doesn't enhance your gaming experience in any way to be able to play DVDs.
Well,
Because
I think the
like
only thing
if you're
that the
watching
DVD
movies,
player did,
but if you're
it made
watching
it
movies, does it
longer
increase your
disc.
ability to play games?
Well, no, but I think the reason why they put the DVD player in there though was also so that they could add more memory to the disc.
Yeah, yes, but what I'm saying
I
is,
think that was the only reason why they did it though.
but you have a Blu-ray player in the PS3.
And I think they did that for the same reason too, to add more
Yes, but what
memory
I'm
to the
saying is,
disc.
it doubles as that. That's a
Yeah, that's
gimmick that
true.
gets people to buy
That's
because
true.
I can play my movies on this.
I bought it for that
Where it's
reason.
like
I bought a
where you
PlayStation
go
3 for
to,
that reason,
you could not buy a Wii to play DVDs and CDs. It
which is
just it.
ridiculous. Which is ridiculous. I think that Nintendo should update
I
that.
always tell people, because people used to complain all the time. They're like, "Well, why doesn't the Wii play CDs and everything?" I was like, "Why do you need another DVD player if you have a PlayStation 4 or a PlayStation 3?" They're like, "Well, my PlayStation 3 could do it." I'm like, "If your PlayStation 3 could do it, be happy that you don't have to pay an extra $100
But
for a
it
Wii that can do it."
but it goes back to what I said earlier, where people would love to be able to just have a Nintendo console and not have anything else.
But
Like they
but
they would be
that's what they do with
okay.
PlayStation. They
They would be
buy
okay
it. They
with
buy
that.
because guess what? When you get that PlayStation 5, people are going to get the physical one. They're going to get that disc drive one because guess what? They're going to use to play their DVDs. They're going to use to play their Blu-rays. They're going to use their Ultra HD 4K
Yeah,
movies,
yeah,
and
that's
that's
true.
what it's going to be used for. They might not care if they might download all their games digitally still, but they know they can put all their movies into that thing and play them. So they're already going to buy it because it's like, well, my PlayStation 4 is getting old. Let me just get this new one so I can play my 4K movies in it, Ultra HD.
Hmm.
And they're going, and then the people that own like Switch is sold over 50 million, almost over 60 million, and you can't even play music on it. Like you can't play a CD, you can't download music, you can't download movies. I mean, you can watch movies on Hulu, but like even for the first year, it sold like 20 million, and you couldn't even watch TV on it. You couldn't even
which
watch YouTube.
which I
So
think is inconvenient. I think that they should
yes,
add that.
it's inconvenient, but at the same time, it tells you what Nintendo is going for. People that play games, like
Well,
that.
yeah,
If
but
you
if they're going after
if you
gamers, though, then
but
they should be getting current first party or current third
if you
party IPs. They should be
you
getting
would think
Cyberpunk.
that you
They
would
should be
think
getting
that
Cyberpunk and Legions and all that other stuff, but they
you would
never
think
get
that,
to
but
it.
remember, these developers are lazy.
No,
They don't
I
even
mean,
they don't
all right,
compress
that's
their
true.
files. They don't
That's true.
compress their files.
That's
So
true.
look, the Switch has micro SD cards that it goes up to 2 terabytes, but the highest micro SD card out right now is 1 terabyte. So you can't even get the max memory on a Switch yet. Like it doesn't even exist. So that's one forward thinking thing Nintendo did. Said, hey, it can register up to 2 terabytes. You know, at that point in time, like 512 or 400 gigabytes was the most back then when it first came out. So now we're up to 1 terabyte 3 years later. So we haven't even maxed out what the Switch can do. I have a 256 gigabyte SD card for my Switch, but if you look at it,
I still want you to tell me where this Metroid game is at.
it had to. You saw they started over with development, right?
Where is Mario Golf at?
I don't know where Mario Golf is at. I
Where's
want.
F Zero at?
I want.
Where's F Zero?
We need F Zero. We need Mario. I said if we get.
Where's Wave Race?
I know. Okay, so the creator of Wave Race, the
I'm just
create
I'm just gonna keep naming games that
1080 snowboarding. I
yeah, I'm
know.
about to say
I
that they
know.
refuse to make. That they just refuse to make these games.
well, you have to remember, snowboarding was bigger in the past. It's like wave race, those type of things. They're niche and they're not as popular. Like Tony Hawk Pro Skate, like skateboarding is not in anymore the
Well,
way it was.
it
Well,
is now.
it's coming back, but I'm saying
They're about to
if
come
you,
out with Tony Hawk, aren't they? Aren't they
yeah,
coming out with
yeah,
that game?
yes, they are coming out with it.
Or did it
It's
come out earlier this month? I think.
I think it might be out already. You might be right. It might be out. But what I'm saying is, back when we were like, that was the big thing. Like everyone was skateboarding, everyone was rollerblading. Like you had movies about it, like Brink. Remember? Like
Mm.
we had movies about those things. So that was the culture of the time. So it's like snowboarding isn't really the culture anymore. It's still snowboarding. It's still very popular. It's still a sport, but it's not like they're not making movies about snowboarding anymore like they used to.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely get that. So,
So it's like
yeah,
you're already making a game that's very niche, that has a very niche following, and then you're gonna say, well, it's not even popular. Will it even sell? Now, F Zero would sell just on like Animal Crossing fact because it just hasn't been around in so long. People won't even care if it was a port. Like if they said we're gonna make F Zero GX Deluxe, like everyone would be like, that's perfectly fine. We love customization. It's like they poured everything into F Zero GX, and then they were just like, we don't know what else we can do from here. We're just not going to make it anymore. That's literally what they said because
I'm about to say,
they said that was what they said. They said we only want to make games if we could feel we could bring something new to it. So they basically said we don't
okay,
feel we could bring anything new to F Zero, so that's why
okay.
they haven't made it. And I'm just
Then
like,
let's
we just wanted the
then let's
game. Just
list.
give us game.
All right, let's list some other stuff that Nintendo used to do. All right,
Okay.
why not didn't come out? And I already mentioned Mario Golf, which they
Mm-hmm.
refused to make.
And Mario Strikers.
What about getting a Major League Baseball license and making up your own new King Griffey Jr. baseball? They used to do that. Nintendo used to come up with their own baseball game with a
They
Major League Baseball player's license.
maybe it got too expensive. Maybe they don't want to do that. I mean, MLB the show's
Wait, wait,
fine.
wait. Are you wait, wait?
Is it
Are you
PlayStation playing
saying
MLB on Switch anyway?
no?
Yes, they
That's
are.
just a rumor. That I wish that they were putting it out on like Xbox One and stuff like that and Switch.
I th-
I would love that.
I thought that was in the news. I thought they literally said
Nah,
that was a thing.
it was fake news. It was fake
Oh,
news. So they're
I
not doing
mean,
it. So
they
so
did
there's
just
been
put,
no King Griffey Jr. baseball.
but King Griffey
Uh,
Jr. is not popular anymore.
well, I mean, they can make any type of any
I
Major
don't
League
watch sports
Baseball
anymore,
license.
so I don't know any. I wouldn't even be able to name a baseball player that plays now.
And as I mentioned before, and as you mentioned before, they could have been came out with Diddy Kong Racing. They
They
could
could have.
have been, or watch this. What about another 3D version of Donkey Kong?
Oh, that would be a good one, like Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah. Or how about this? What about another uh, Mario RPG?
They might. They're probably going.
I
They're
don't
probably
think
moving
so,
to.
man.
I mean, let's see. Like they've been delving into a lot of these new like added games for online. Like
What
we get
about
that.
a Final Fight game?
What was Final Fight about?
It was like their answer to compete with Sega in terms of Streets of Rage.
Oh, hmm.
What about asking SquareSoft to make a Chrono Trigger remake?
Do you not think people are asking for this already?
But Lord, here's the thing: Nintendo could make that happen.
Nintendo has been making things happen.
What they ain't been putting out first party. They ain't been putting out games.
Dragon Quest XI: Echoes of an Elusive Age
It's been a
Special
game drought,
Edition.
man. If you ask any other Switch owner, they're like, man, I don't
But
really even get to play my Switch on like
half
that,
these Switch
man.
owners don't even have half these games. They just be on there complaining about games. If they, I have the collection to prove that I'd be buying games day one as soon as they come out.
But that's
Like
because you missed an entire console generation.
I missed an entire console generation, and and
That's different.
no, no,
You're okay with 360
and I'm replacing every single other console generation that I accidentally sold, or games got stolen, or systems got
I'm
stolen.
about to say,
Like I'm buying everything that I had on another console, or like if it was on PC and I had it, I bought it. Like Diablo 3, or if it was like on Dreamcast and I bought it, like well Dreamcast, like Ikaruga. Like I had Ikaruga on GameCube. I'm getting Ikaruga on my Switch.
That brings up something that I want to talk about then. You represent the Switch owner who really didn't have a chance to necessarily play and game with the Wii U, but you bought a Switch. So you're new this
Oh yes,
generation
yes, yes,
to
yes.
the
I'm new to
sales
everything
on
that's Wii U
yes. So
because
what,
I bought the Wii U, and
does this
then
help Nintendo in
my wife
the
was
future?
pregnant. Like I bought the Wii U, so I had it on my Switch. I registered it and everything. I bought it brand new. Then my wife was she was nesting while she was pregnant, and you know how women can sometimes be whenever they're nesting. They want
So whatever
stuff done.
happened, you just didn't
I traded it. I
yeah,
traded it
you
in
didn't have
2 weeks
a system.
later. I
Okay.
traded it in 2 weeks
So you
later.
missed this whole generation. So
I
now
missed the whole
you're
generation,
in
and
Switch.
then my Wii got stolen by my ex girlfriend. So I just quit playing then because it's like she gave my I had Smash Brothers and everything, and then she just
So,
gave it
so
away.
they have you for this generation because they can appeal to the fact that there are some 360 games and PS3 games that you missed that can be
And,
ported over and they're portable, right?
yep, yep.
What do you think they're going to do for the next generation once your type of fans
Have everything
are
that we want.
have everything that you want? Or what are they going to use then?
Honestly, I
Is them
always tell
putting out 1.5 appealable first party games per year? Is that going to be enough to get you to come back and buy another one?
yes.
Because think about it. Think about like this. The
I
hardcore Nintendo gamer, there was about 15 million Wii U sold. That's your hardcore Nintendo fan base that's always going to buy a console.
yeah.
The 60 million or whatever of people that bought this console, I don't think that you can expect them to buy your next console coming up. But I think you can expect a reasonable amount.
I think if the console
How are they
stays
going to retain
I think
the casual gamer?
if the console stays a hybrid with a handheld feature with a handheld ability, you'll have 60 million sales regardless. Because if you look at it, every single handheld has always sold over 75 million, including the 3DS.
So what's to stop? And here's the thing that I'm going to bring up. What's to stop Microsoft from making the Xbox Live platform available on mobile phones?
Nothing.
So what happens if they do that and they make all their games available on the Xbox Live platform and you get the Xbox Live app and you can basically play it like you're playing Game Pass on your phone?
I wish you could get the Xbox Live app on the Switch.
Well, I don't think that they'll do that. How many, how many, how
I think
many,
they wanted
how
to
many
do
people
it.
do you think will come back to buy a Switch if you have the ability to have an Xbox system that has portability now? Do
Plenty
you
of
think?
people
Do you think
because
that? Do you think that Nintendo is putting out the type of heat in terms of games that's going to bring these people back and say, you know what? I just gotta have Nintendo's console. If they don't
yes,
come out with
as long as they come out with Fire Emblem, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, and the Mario game, like that's all people really need on this system is those four. Like and Splatoon now because Splatoon's up there is getting up there.
so you think that people are going to be okay not having Metroid, not having a good Star Fox game? You think that they're going to be okay with not getting their own version of a Mario Kart game? Which, by the way, the Switch still doesn't have its own version of a Mario Kart game.
It doesn't, but I think we'll get there soon. I think we're gonna get
Ah,
there soon.
that game should have been out.
It should have, but I think they're. I
So
think they're.
why? So why are they taking? Why? That's what I'm asking.
Wait, but
Why
who
is this taking
doesn't
so long?
isn't the Mario Kart team also responsible for? I don't know what game it was. They're responsible for some other game that they're working on.
They have plenty of assets, man.
They do have plenty of assets, but I think the Mario Kart team is the same team that makes Splatoon, isn't it?
That's a good question. I would have to look that up. I don't have that information on
I
hand.
think that was the only reason they did the deluxe because they were working on Splatoon 2. And they're like, well,
Well,
look that up because they're
well,
like certain team. They have certain teams
but
that do it.
but but that
Like the 3D Mario team is not the same team that makes the 2D Mario games.
but I don't think that. But here's the thing. Even if that were so, let's say, can you answer for me then? Why are they coming out with the Pikmin 3 plus DLC instead of just coming out with the Pikmin 4?
Because how many people play Pikmin 3? How many people play Pikmin 2 and 1 that are still gaming to this day?
That's never seemed to stop Nintendo from making another sequel. Them
It
making Pikmin 1 and it's selling 1 million
But
whatever units didn't stop them from making Pikmin 2.
but Pikmin 1 and 2 came out in a close period of time, and Pikmin 3 came out on the Wii U. So
So so then again, why not just come out with a Pikmin 4
because
and
I think
just port Pikmin 3?
they
You
did
could just
port.
port,
They are porting Pikmin 3. That's literally what they're doing.
but
They're porting
what
Pikmin 3, and they're probably going to come out with Pikmin 4. I think the whole idea is to get people back into Pikmin, so they put Pikmin 3 to even
I
gauge if there's
think
interest in
the
it.
DLC is Pikmin 4.
No, they said Pikmin 4 is under development.
I don't think so, man.
I
They've been having a lot of games under development, man. Remember when they came up with this Breath of the Wild trailer and we still haven't seen a single stitch of gameplay?
That's because that Breath of the Wild is going to be too fire, and you know it's going to be fire because Breath of the Wild 1 was fire.
And we still haven't seen a stitch of gameplay, and they still haven't decided to make another Star Fox game.
I know we need a Star Fox game. If
Because
we
even though
could, if we could
I
get,
know somebody listening is gonna be like, well, they came up with Star Fox Zero for the Wii U, and I said that game to me is what got me to say I refuse to buy a
I
Nintendo
bet
card.
you, I bet you they're working on Star Fox Zero and trying to get a Switch port of it without the motion controls needed. That's my
Well,
guess.
the issue with that game wasn't even just the motion controls; it was the fact that they used the
The
gamepad
gamepad for
for
gameplay, there
aiming and
was,
stuff.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking they're probably working on that because
I
they
don't
get
think
a
they
thing.
can. That's the same reason why they won't port Xenoblade Chronicles X.
That's probably why also why you haven't seen it. They said it would be a lot of work for that. But I
I
mean, we've
don't. I
seen
don't think it's possible. Well, I mean, it's possible, but it's not
you'd have to
possible.
revamp the entire game and how it
Hey,
works.
exactly. They're not. It's not the same experience. It's kind of like some of these games were meant to be played on the gamepad.
I think the
You
issue was they said the reason the gamepad didn't work as planned was because it drew you out of the immersion of the game, and they
know,
want they
that did happen in some games, but I think
like
for some games though it was needed. Like I talked about some games that used the gamepad that were great, like Legend of Zelda Wind Waker was a great game that used the gamepad. Dos Ex Human Evolution, that was a game that used the gamepad, unbelievable. The Wonderful 101.
well they remade that for Switch, so
See, that's the thing. If they have all those games that I already played on Wii U, I still don't have a reason to go buy a Switch
you
Un-
do if you were interested in actual like the thing is
until
that
they come
you're
out
not
with a Breath
you're
of the Wild 2.
you're not a like an active Nintendo first party gamer. So like you don't
I don't know about that, man.
you don't play Smash Brothers, you don't play Splatoon. Do you
I
play you don't
no,
play
no. I do play Splatoon.
Oh, you
I
do
do
have
play.
Splatoon? So why don't you get
Yes.
Splatoon 2? Why don't you get over here? And I need teammates. I don't have friends that
I'm going to
play.
tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Because they made me mad. And the reason why I'm going to tell you why they made me mad. Nintendo used to have a policy that was archaic, and at the time I hated it. But then when I got kids, I liked it. And their archaic policy used to be they used to make up games that could be played with local multiplayer.
And they still have those.
But Splatoon isn't one of them.
No, Splatoon isn't, but that doesn't mean
That's the
Splatoon.
problem. That's the problem.
You want
Because
Splatoon to be local multiplayer.
yes, because listen,
I mean,
there's
you can
no
play Splatoon local multiplayer if you have
but
multiple systems.
but listen, for me, and I have multiple kids, like I'm
Okay,
trying to play with them at the same time, and we
so
all have controllers.
get them
But
Switch lights.
that's the
$200.
problem. I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to. What happened to
Why? We
what
did
happened to the
local
screen?
multiplayer and
What happened to the split screen, man? What happened to the split screen? Maybe the first player has the
you
top,
have
the
you
two
have
players at the bottom.
you have 4-player local multiplayer on numerous games.
But not on
Kirby Star.
Splatoon. Not on
Do
Splatoon
you like?
though.
Okay, do you like Splatoon that much that you want to play 4 players with your kids?
Yes. And
So
even something like Super Mario 3D World. That was a great multiplayer game. Like that
okay,
was
but
one
3D World is going to be cross play all on one Switch.
but I already got Super Mario 3D World.
Okay,
So
but Streets of Rage is also 4-player co-op on Switch. Then
but
what?
but that's also a four-player co-op, I believe, on the Xbox.
Kirby Star Allies 4-player co-op on Switch.
I didn't like the last couple Kirby games, so
Me and my kids played a lot of Kirby Star Allies. They loved fighting over the characters, but yeah, we played a lot of Kirby Star Allies when
So I, in terms of like local co-op multiplayer, and then here's the thing that also made me mad. When I went to go buy, I actually was on the verge of buying my kids a Switch, right?
okay,
And because I know that my daughters would like Animal Crossing, so I said, well, let me get them a
everyone
Switch.
lives on the same island.
Yes, and
That's
the problem,
always that's always been Animal Crossing, even from the
yes,
GameCube one.
yes, but my problem is this.
Me and Marcus played Animal Crossing together on the same village in
I'm
GameCube.
I'm gonna say, but even if they're on the same island, you still should be able to play at the same time
You
necessarily.
can.
But here's the thing.
You could do four. You could do what? 4 players,
Well, here's
can't
the
you?
thing. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure you could do. You could do up to 8 players online. You could do 4 players local co-op.
I think somebody told me that in order for the person to play at the same time, that they had to have a whole different Switch.
No, they just gotta have a controller. I'm pretty sure.
No, I think they said you have to have your own thing.
No, because if you're on the same
I may be
island,
wrong, but
if you can't be on the same island if you have your own Switch. Your Switch would have your own island.
hold on a second. I'm about to look this up because I remember I was trying to figure out how to get them to be able to play with each
I
other
could just go look at the back of my game case, and it should tell me.
online. Like I was trying to figure out how to get them to play with each other online, and I remember it was something that I just wasn't doing. Like I wasn't going to
Because if
buy
you like if
a
you
Switch
look
and
at
a
like
Switch.
Arms,
I wasn't going to do it.
Arms and Mario Kart are 2 excellent examples because Arms and Mario Kart will allow you to play 2 players online with other people. So
Well,
like
yeah,
you
but
could
that was always like that, and
no
so
no no no. I mean like you could be like Arms. You could do like 2-on-2 battles, or you could do like and it'll just have you. You'll just be playing on the same screen.
yeah, see that part of it was fine. Like even with Mario Kart is also local multiplayer, but for some reason Nintendo. Let's talk about
Well,
Mario Party. Mario Party isn't even local co-op. That's crazy to me, and they don't even have an online co-op.
is it not multiplayer offline?
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure it should be.
I'm sure Mario Party does not have that feature, man.
I'm
And
gonna look it up on the
it's
Switch.
supposed to. You would think that it would have a good online feature, but it doesn't. I don't think
It,
it does.
yes, Mario Kart. They literally advertised it as local co-op because remember they had the little screen where you put the two Switch screens together and people were playing together, or they had 4 players on 2 screens.
I don't think the Mario
It
Party has online capability. I
it
don't think
does.
that.
It's very limited. That's the issue that people had with it. You couldn't, and it was issue. It was limited, and I think you couldn't play with your friends or something. That was the issue people had. You couldn't play. Oh, my Switch is disconnected from my phone, so I don't have internet right now.
That's funny, man. But
Well,
yeah, man, that when I'm talking about games like that, and even talking about stuff like say
Split or Smash Brothers is 8 players local co-op.
that's different though, because I've only played Smash Brothers with other people who play Smash Brothers. I'm not a big Smash Brothers person.
But I
Like
mean, like, and
I'm the
Tetris
I'm the
99,
Nintendo gamer who can
Tetris
play.
99 is 4 player local co-op.
See, I'm the Nintendo gamer who I can play a Luigi's Mansion and the Mario games, but I
Hmm.
but I want them to bring the Donkey Kong games out consistently. I want them to bring out the Metroid games consistently. I want them to bring out the Star Fox games consistently. And I want them to be able to come out with
F-Zero games consistently.
yes, exactly. That's
We need all the
I don't
flagships just to be
I,
on each system,
yeah,
regardless
even
of
with
if it's
a
a
game
bad
like
version.
even with a game like Pilot Wings. I mean, you haven't done that game since what, 64? Did they do a GameCube version of that game? I don't think they
Not that I
did.
know of. No,
But there's games even on the GameCube that they could come out with
we need like a new Skies of Arcadia.
and they just haven't. And for me, I just I
But I'm happy with some of the new IPs. I'm really happy with Astral Chain and Damon X Machina got slept on, and that's because American gamers just don't like mechs like everyone else. This game is phenomenal. Has excellent writing.
so you're reversing my statement when I say that Nintendo doesn't care about Western gamers, and you're saying that Western gamers don't care about what Nintendo puts out in terms of stuff like that.
Yeah, because like you have bangers. Damon X Machina is a banger. Like I got people that were like when it first came out, everyone was hating on it. People were hating on it. And they're like, it's not reviewing good, blah blah. It's not a good game. All this other stuff. And like I started playing, I was like, yo, this writing is phenomenal. It's got an excellent story.
Is
Awesome.
that Is that the fault of the artist, or is that the
The
fault?
art, the screen, the artwork is beautiful in the game, but it's funny because so many people, I started like people that went and bought the game day one, and like I follow a bunch of people on Twitter, and like weeks later, people on Twitter were all like, they're like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say it now, like Daemon X Machina is probably one of the best games to come out this year. And like they were praising the game. They're like, don't listen to the reviewers because these reviewers have no clue what they're talking about. And I was saying that from the beginning. I was like, people are sleeping on this game, and people are still going back like a year later, and they're like, why did this
Mhm.
game not get the praise that it should have got? Like it's super in depth for a mech game, and it went to PC as well, so it's not even a Switch exclusive anymore.
I found out what it was. It was the fact that you couldn't have multiple islands on the same console. You only
Yeah,
could
that's
have.
what people. But I told people I was like, that's literally always been Animal Crossing.
Yeah, but
That's been a feature. If you run the same system, you were always like, if you run the same memory card, it was always the same island. It was always the same town. So I don't know why people suddenly got this new idea that Animal Crossing everyone should have their own island. That's never been an Animal
well,
Crossing.
it's
That's never
because
even been a feature.
it's because you might not want to have the same type of like experience playing with your brothers and sisters as you might play with somebody online.
Yes, but I'm saying that's literally never been a feature of Animal Crossing.
So
Like
just
it's how
because,
it's
all
always
right,
been. So people should have
so
known from
maybe
day
just
one that if you get Animal Crossing, you're going to be on the same island.
yeah, but let's think about if that's the case, that means that Nintendo should never have to update their games to add or take away new features.
Well,
That
what
would
I'm
mean
saying,
that would mean like
the idea
um
Nintendo believes is that if you're playing, if you have the
prior
same
to
system,
PS2,
instead of
there was no open world Zelda.
no, there wasn't. But that's
Yeah,
what they.
but that changed though. You know what I mean? Is it why not be innovative and change it?
But you're
It's
literally arguing against exactly what you just argued for. You argued that you wanted couch co-op, and they give you a game with couch co-op, and now you're arguing that you don't want couch co-op for that game because you want everyone to have their own experience.
yeah, well, yeah, it wasn't even me. I just didn't want my kids
yeah,
arguing over the island. That's what I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
want.
That's why you say
That
I'm gonna make the you just tell them, I'm gonna make the island. You guys gonna live on it.
you know what that is what I probably could have just said.
Or don't even
But
let them know that they can make the island. Just be like, this is what the game is. And then they can work on editing the island whenever they unlock that part, and then they can be like, hey, you can get your little section, you can edit it however you want. I'm gonna edit over here, and then you just section it off that way. Because like, yeah, like if they don't know they can change the island at the beginning. I mean, how old are they? They are they old enough to read?
yeah,
Okay, so then
well,
they can.
one is and one isn't.
I
So what?
remember
So maybe what I'll do is, as this goes on and
all I
has
know is like my kids are older now. They're 6 and 7, and Clover can read really well, and Everly can read somewhat. Actually, she can read pretty well too. I was caught off guard last time she was over here, and they love Roblox. That's their new thing. They play Roblox a lot, and they play Minecraft.
I think that's how they make games now. They don't see. Here's the thing. I'm okay with the kids liking the online multiplayer experiences, but I feel like with these newer systems, the thing that's been lost, and we're almost at the end of this podcast, but I think the thing that's been lost most has been the art of the single player game.
And quality control.
Yes,
You can't like back in the day, like you couldn't have a game breaking bug be in the game on launch because if you did, it would ruin like people just wouldn't buy the game because it would be game breaking.
yeah,
And they did a lot more quality control on games, and I think that's been like a lost thing because they're just like, well, we could patch it if people find something, and it's created lazy developing where they'll leave bugs in, so then they're like, oh yeah, there's going to be a day one patch, or it doesn't have to be optimized, and so you get the game and you're like, why am I getting 45-minute load seconds or 45-second load times, and then
yep,
crashes all over the place,
yep.
like I played Paladins, and this company, what is this company called? They got Realm Royale, Paladins, High Res Studios. All their games look almost exactly the same. Almost all their games crash like crazy. But when they play well. But they all have like the same crashes and everything. And I'm just like, how are you years into developing this stuff and still having like all these crashes?
Because they
And it's
don't
like,
care. they don't care about quality, like you said. A lot of times they just care about getting the game out for a certain date, and then they're
Yeah,
like, "We'll just patch stuff later." And
but then it's like but then you look at
I'm
something
like,
like Nin-
y'all should have been did that. What do the testers do? Like,
yeah,
don't
but
you
then
guys have guys who test these games, man?
it's like if I tested the game, I would be trying to break the game over and over again. Like
Well, I don't think most testers now when they test
nowadays,
games,
when people
they're just
go,
happy
oh,
to
it's an open beta. They just all they
play.
want to do is play early.
They're just happy to play. They don't actually go out and try to do stuff to break the game.
Yeah,
They
like
don't do.
people got so mad because when Ninjala was coming out, it was like they're like we only have to play for like 20 minutes in the 1 hour that they came out. Why would they do this? I was like, because you're actually supposed to be testing it. I was like, you're not supposed. The whole idea behind it is that they wanted it was a stress test. They wanted as many people logging into the servers as possible, so they could be like, oh, so this is what happens when the servers get
Yeah,
overloaded, and fix it. And people are like,
yeah.
well, we didn't get to play. It's like it wasn't about you getting to play. It was about them finding bugs when launch comes out, so that you don't have these problems. And then people don't understand that because the idea for them is like, well, this game let me play all this. Like that's because that game wanted you to play because that was their marketing strategy. It
But
was to let you play so that you could buy into it and want to play.
do you think part of the reason of why they're able to do that though is because gamers don't demand more quality in these games?
That I think they don't demand quality, and I think it's the indie developers that are doing a lot of the quality controlling now. A lot of these indie developers, I used to be really anti indie games because I was like a lot of them were just really really crap, and that was where the lazy developers were. Like they just wanted to put out something for like cash grabs or whatever. But nowadays you have indie games that are like fine tuned and like phenomenal, and it's like I would never like 10 years ago would have never touched these games. But nowadays I'm just like, yo, like I was missing out on games. And it was thanks to the PC and entering a lot of actual like beta testing where I started realizing like there's bugs and then there's bugs. Like there's bugs that are like, oh, that shouldn't work that way, but it does work that way. And then there's bugs like, oh, this is broken. And so I got used to being in games where it's like your data could be wiped in a heartbeat because they're like, oh, this isn't working right. We're gonna scrap it and go on. So it's like I now get to see like games that are in alpha that aren't even anywhere near being completed
Man,
and play them.
if that
And
happened, I think that happened to me for one game, and I was just done playing the game.
I there are so many games that I've played that are in alpha that are like that probably are like 5-10 years from being completed. They might have never come out, but it's just like these are good experiences already, and they don't have many bugs in them already because they have people that actually care about the development, and the people that are playing it, they're not just playing it because they're like, oh, it might come out later. I want to have a head start. They're actually playing it and they're like, okay, well, someone has to at least get to like final levels of this game and start testing stuff there, and that's what they do. And so these games are in alpha and they're running better than like I got games that literally are in alpha that run better than games that are literally on my Switch right now. And
Mhm.
that's crazy. That's crazy that you could have a game that's not even in beta that runs better than games that are out for sale.
I think it's because they optimize them. That's
They
why
they do, and
they
I think
optimize
that's what we
what they've been doing in terms of what most companies do, which is just throw stuff together
and then
and
fix it later.
fix it later. So
And
I
and that and
I
that
think
that
that's why
really
they
that
do
that really took that process of throwing it out there and then fixing it later really really took off after World of Warcraft came out. World of
that.
Warcraft came out and like it was running great and everything, and it was competing with EverQuest, it was competing with Final Fantasy 11, both all phenomenal running games. But then like Age of Conan came out and it was supposed to be this big WoW killer, and what was it? It was a big crappy bug fest and didn't sell well, and they
Mm,
they couldn't patch it fast enough. Then you had games like Tabula Rasa. It was like a third person shooter MMORPG. It was an excellent game. It just took the developers too long to start patching out the major bugs with it. So they lost a ton of money on it. And it's just like you can't put out crap and then expect to patch it because people are going to play it, and that initial experience is what's going to decide if they continue to play it for long term. It's why games like Terra came out and did really, really well and can still do really, really well to this day, or Ion. And even if they go free to play, they still do really, really well numbers wise because people like the quality is there for the game. The quality was there when it first came out because they were charging people for it. But nowadays, it's like you get games and they're trying to charge people and they're just throwing out crap and they're like, oh well, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we'll just let it go and give up on it.
All right. So check this out. Do you have any last words to describe what your expectations are for Sony in this generation and what is going to happen moving forward since I believe that they're going to be the first people to come out. I believe their release date is November. Do you have any expectations?
November 12th is their release date.
Yes. What are your expectations moving forward for this next generation?
I think Sony's just going to keep doing Sony. I don't think they're going to change anything. They're clearly their strategy works. Put out a system that can play all types of entertainment, so you can stream, you can watch movies and everything, and then go from there. I think they're trying to add in to like the little games as a service type stuff, the online games, giving you the free games with the PS Plus and everything. And I think they're trying to find some way to compete with Game Pass without being Game Pass because they still require game sales. Where Microsoft is like, we just need online accounts. They're like, we don't need game sales, we just need online accounts because they've seen like PlayStation's making a ton of money on it, so they probably want to make money the same way. But they're like, hey, we're just like, I'm gonna say it right now. The way Microsoft has Game Pass set up, it's actually making the Xbox very enticing. You get the Series X, you get Game Pass, and then you could have that could be your secondary system if you're like me, like a main Nintendo guy, but you want to play a couple of those Xbox exclusives. I think that would be it's a cheaper buy-in than
And
having
those
to buy.
current multi-plats.
And they got the current multiplats. And so I think honestly, like this next generation, it's gonna. I think if people really care about their money, they're gonna buy into Xbox at some sort of level to get that Game Pass.
Wow.
I think that would be the thing. People are gonna want that Game Pass, and it's only going to be like it's going to really just be the ponies, the Sony ponies that are Sony fanboys that are going to hate on Game Pass regardless. They're like, hey, your games don't even sell. Everyone plays them on Game Pass. And you're like, now you're complaining that people are saving money.
See, my thing now is with the PlayStation 5 is this. What's going to be interesting to me is, are the people going to make a decision and say, okay, I can spend the same amount of money on a PlayStation 5, or I can get an Xbox, which is a more powerful system for the same price?
I think the issue everyone's going to always say, because PlayStation players will say, they're like, our exclusives. And I always point out to them, I said, look, I was like, if you guys were so hyped for your exclusives that you all talk about, I was like, then why don't y'all buy them? And they're like, what are you talking about?
I was thinking that too. I was just thinking that
I'm like,
too.
I was like, you can't tell me that you care about exclusives, but then every single time an exclusive comes out, you're talking about, well, I'm going to pick it up when it goes on sale.
And there's a problem whenever
Because
Nintendo can outsell you in terms of your exclusives, and they have a lower install base like they did with the Wii U.
That's what I said.
That's a problem.
That's
a big problem.
I said, look, I was like, we get it. PlayStation gamers, either y'all are broke or y'all don't care about exclusives. I was like, because if y'all cared about exclusives, I was like, there's no reason that you should have 100 million systems sold and you're not breaking 10 million sales at $60. I was like, Animal Crossing is almost at 20 million at $60 a pop, and it came out in March.
Yeah, because
it sold 11 million. It sold 11 million in 10 days at $60, and people want to complain that it's like Nintendo doesn't lower their prices because people buy it at $60.
That means one out of three. It means 1 out of 3 Switch owners own that game.
Yes, one out of every 3 Switch owners own that game.
Exclusives, they might get it the most 1 out of 10.
Yeah, and it's like they'll be like, well, Last of Us sold 5 million. Like, yeah, it sold 5 million at $60.
Mario Kart sold like 8 or 9 million on the Wii U.
Yeah, Mario Kart sold like 8 or 9 million. It was like 60% install base on the Wii U, and then it sold another 26 million on Switch.
Yeah,
like at $60 still. I mean, you might get it online for $40 if Nintendo has it sell because they do more online sales, and you might be able to get it in a store for like $50 at Walmart or $40 sometimes at Best Buy, depending on what's going on. But the majority of people are paying $60 for the game. The biggest thing, and like Animal Crossing hasn't gone on sale yet. It's almost at 20 million. Pokemon hasn't gone on sale yet, although it has recently. But it's like, and people are still paying $60. It's selling 10, 15 million at $60. I was like, Nintendo, like, what's crazy to me is that Bethesda has picked up on Nintendo's strategy, and they're not discounting their games anymore on Switch. Skyrim is still $60 3 years later on Switch.
Mm-hmm.
I want to play Skyrim, but it's never on sale.
Yeah,
And I don't believe I don't
say,
believe
can buy
Skyrim is a $60. I don't believe
It's not.
Skyrim is a $60 game.
That's what I mean by Nintendo being anti-consumerist, because you're
But
making me buy games that are almost 8, 9, 10 years old for the same new game price, and I'm like, why am I doing that, man?
and it's
Why should
because they hold value. Like I bought like if I look like if you saw my Switch collection, you see my Switch collection. I have 128 games here currently on Switch. I have about 145 if I count my pre-orders that I'm waiting for from all my limited companies that come out with limited physical edition. Like I bought the collector's edition for Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer. I bought the collector's edition for Ikaruga. I bought, I bought multiple games that I have digitally physically as well. So like I'm getting the Wizard of Legend physical. I'm getting the Blaster Master series physical. I'm getting like if I have it, like I got Dandara physical just recently. Excellent little game if you've seen it. Black main character, very cool. But it was funny. There was someone that was talking to me the other day. He was on Facebook and he said, yeah, he's like, we need to have more inclusion in video games, blah, blah, blah. We need to see more black people and stuff. And I said to him, I said, look, I was like, I'm going to tell you as a black person that's been gaming my entire life and has tons of friends who are black and have been gaming their entire life, we don't care about inclusion. We care about if the game is good. I was like, none of my black friends have been sitting here. I was like, we never played a game and said, there's no black people in this game. I can't feel representation here. Like I've never thought that. I've never looked at a game and said, you know what would be good? A black person in this game. Now, if there's a black person in the game, we're like, oh, that's cool. He's black, and we might play him. But I was like, but I played Paul in Tekken because I had a box in 6th grade when Tekken came out, and Paul had a box. I was like, we got the same hairstyle, so like I'll play Paul.
And that's why one of the greatest things that game companies started doing is when they have a game that's a main character, letting you edit the characters so you can make them look like yourself.
That's the only time I get upset that there's no black characters, is whenever I can edit the character and they don't give a dark enough skin complexion for black.
I don't know what game you got that don't got them to be
Sword Art Online, Fatal Bullet, or no, Sword Art Online. What's it called? Yeah, Sword Art Online. Where's it at? I got too many games here.
I'm about to say, but you know why they're not going to make them have a darker skin complexion?
Yeah. Sword Art Online, Fatal Bullet. No,
somebody's going to complain and say that, you're making them look blackface.
No, because think about it. Sword Art Online, if you ever watch the anime, there's a black guy who's always the business owner. He's very dark complexion, but you can't make a character as dark as him. And I'm like, why can't you make a character that dark?
Because I know somebody would say exactly what I just said. Why do you have them looking this dark? It's like blackface. It's like Aunt Jemima. You're intentionally blackening his skin. Now, what that should tell
black people love Aunt Jemima.
You know what's funny?
Black people love Aunt Jemima. We're like, why?
You know what's funny about that? I never thought about
like, if you don't have a black woman, they're like, if you don't have a black woman on the bottle, why are we buying your syrup?
I'm not buying it.
People buy we buy Aunt Jemima for Aunt Jemima.
I agree.
Like, no one complained about Miss Buttersworth. We were like, white people can have Miss Buttersworth. We got Aunt Jemima over here. Let us have Aunt Jemima.
It's because somebody. I'm still wondering who actually comes up with this stuff, because
no one complained about the Land O'Lakes Indian on there.
Nobody
complained about that. And you know what? They did. Land O'Lakes did all that pandering. Oh, we're taking the Native American off the butter. Guess what? It's still on your buttermilk. It's still on everything that's not butter. The Indian woman is still on everything not butter. It's just not on the butter because people only think Land O'Lakes makes butter. I go in the store every single day like, oh, look, here's the Indian still. I was like, but it's not on the butter. But it was pandering.
You,
so you didn't take it off of everything. It's still on your milk cartons. It's still on your little bottles. It's
we
still
just
on
talked
everything
about
else. It's just not. It's just like so. I was like, black people have never been sitting here and complaining that there's not black characters and stuff. And I was like, and we've never complained about a game being all white. Like no one sat here and said, you know what? I'm mad. Final Fantasy doesn't have any black characters. I can't relate to this protagonist. No,
it.
you know who we
Yeah,
were.
but
We wrote our name was Squall's name. We had
yeah,
no problem being Squall. We're
yeah,
like, you know what? I'm Squall today,
yeah.
motherfucker. And it's like that's what we did. It's like I
And
like
that's
when we
what I
played
don't
Gold. We
understand,
played
man.
Gold. We played Golden Sun on Game Boy. It was like we didn't care if there was no black people. It was like no, I'm still the protagonist. I was like I play Dragalia Lost on my mobile phone, and that main protagonist is white as hell. And I'm like, you know what? I was like, he still got my name. I was like, because I have the understanding it's a game.
It's a
It's not
game,
real life.
not real
I was
life.
like, I don't need to have every character look like me. I don't need to have every character look like me because I was like a lot of times I play female characters anyway. I was like, it's not because I identify as female. It's because I like looking at the aesthetic a lot more. I was like, but when I play male characters for very specific reasons that I enjoy. Like
Hmm.
I play Paul because I enjoy Paul, but I play Sophidia and I play Sophidia in Soul Calibur. I play Helena because she has amazing clothing in DOA. Like she's awesome.
Hmm.
That's my favorite character. But then I play the male characters in the games that I like them in. Tekken's like the only game I didn't play a female character in. I played Paul and I played Forest Law and I played
And it probably has
Martial
something
Law.
to do with the fact you probably didn't like the female characters' fighting styles.
Well, no, because I in Tekken 4 I played
Because
Oscar.
in like Street
I
Fighter,
liked Oscar. I liked Oscar in Tekken 4. I did
yeah,
like her
because in
fighting
like Street
style.
Fighter, I can play Street Fighter and play with Cammy because she has certain moves that I like.
I played
I
Cammy
can
and
get
I
away
can
with
play
it.
Street Fighter. I can play Chun Li, but my favorite character in Street Fighter is still Guile. And my favorite
Everybody
and
likes
then
Gal, man.
but then like in Arms,
Do you like
people say
Gal or do you like Gal's music?
I like Guile. I like Sonic Boom, Flash Kick, Sonic Boom.
I was wondering, like, do people really like Gal or do you like Gal's stage because he has that cool music?
I like Guile because I like hearing Sonic Boom. If you haven't noticed, I've always had, even though I'm anti-government, I've always and anti like our military and everything. I'm still like attracted to like authority types. So I still play Guile because he's a military veteran. I
You know
still
what?
play. I
I
still
never
play
saw that movie. Come to think of it, I just remembered that I have never watched that movie.
the Street Fighter movie.
Never watched that movie
Oh,
before.
it's so cringe, but
It's
it's
probably something that I probably would like to watch too. Just to,
I
you know,
enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because it was funny. But like even in Arms, I played Bark and Bite, the police officer. Like, but it's like and then remember when we played Halo, what was my name in Halo? The Marine. But it's like so it's like I still have these types that I play, and like it's just it's crazy to me nowadays because it's just like
well, you know what?
I've never
They want to ruin the entertainment industry, man.
they do want to ruin it
They
because
want to
like
ruin. They want to ruin.
I don't
They want to
need
ruin
a
the
like
entertainment
and I
industry.
was talking I was like we don't need black I was like we need black characters as in like if you want to like
Man, we
not
should have
they
made
don't
that a
need
whole
we don't
different show, man. We
we don't
shouldn't talk about
we
this
you know
now.
we should do it we should do it next
We should
time we
make
should discuss
Yeah, we should make that a whole different show, man. Games that have been ruined because we talked about that on the last show and how about how like I talked about how I think that the Last of Us probably got treated the way it did because they probably heard something about having representation and that's why they did what they did. So maybe when Chaz joins us, maybe he'll be able to confirm or to deny if that's true or not. That would actually be a very good show. Are you like, do you care about your representation in video games or are you just trying to play the game?
but yeah. And for a short answer, I say I'm just trying to play the game, good gameplay. That's all that matters. I mean, like if a character happens to be black, they just happen to be black. It's just kind of like in a story. If a character happens to be black, they happen to be black. It doesn't matter what they are in the end, as long as it's
Yeah,
enjoyable.
because I
But
think
that's a short. But I think we should really dive into like
because I was a
what
fan
we
of
would
Grand
want to
Theft
see
Auto.
as representation.
Yeah, because I was a fan of Grand Theft Auto when the main character was white when he came out in 3. I loved it. I loved Vice City. I loved the other game, and then and then when they came out with Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, I loved it even more. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like, but
Right?
it was like I wasn't thinking about like, oh man, I need to see a black man in this game. I'm like, man, the time for me to make up my character is when I'm making up a character on like MLB The Show or
Yeah.
like maybe NHL
Or
20.
like NBA
My
2K.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like as if you don't get as if you can't if you play Mass Effect as if you can't make yourself the main character and make yourself black. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like Mies. Mies are a perfect example where when you're like, I want to be black. Like, you want to see my me? My me. Here's my me. Got the beard and everything, glasses. That's what we like when we can go all in
I
and
didn't know.
really dive.
I don't know why I thought that they got rid of the me verse
They got rid of the
in
me
the
verse,
Switch.
but you can still create Mies.
Oh, okay. All
You can
right.
you can still create Mies for your account profile and everything.
So
You
they'll
just don't have
still
the.
have all my games connected to my thing. They just won't have the me verse. Okay.
I don't know if you'll have all your games connected. What do you mean?
Like they'll still show that I have a Nintendo account and I've had a Nintendo account for a while, and it's under this
Uh,
email address,
I'm not sure what you're trying to say.
which is okay. Like how if you go from the original Xbox, which had the first Xbox Live, which was the standard of online gaming, to the 360, if you put in your information, you still were an Xbox Live as yourself. It transferred. It just updated the stuff with it. Same thing when you went from the 360 to an Xbox One. Same account. You might be able to make an avatar differently, but it's the same thing. I'm guessing with the Switch, do they have a thing where if you use the same email address, you just come up and it's the same information? You just maybe have to, you know, make a new avatar, maybe, or do they let you
Yeah,
use the same?
you'll just have to make new avatars, but I think your avatars might be saved to your account on there or whatever. I don't know because I do know like if I change, let me see, if I change, like I have a whole bunch of me's that were on my Switch that I've created, as you can see. But I have like I have one that was from when I created my Nintendo account, and then that was that.
See, and that's what I don't have. So, anyway, I said that we would go less than
Hour and a
90 minutes, and
half.
we
We
did.
went too long.
I'm glad that you guys stuck around with us. And next time, hopefully, we get all the guys on because I still want to hear. You've already heard the Nintendo apologist defend selling 7-year-old games for $60.
They're
He
gonna
thinks
do what Nintendo do.
it's
That's just.
okay, and he thinks that I'm just hating on the game lineup because I just don't like those games, which
Hey,
might be true.
no one is making you buy the games for $60. You don't have to
So
buy them for $60. You could go buy them used from someone for 25.
I'm about to say. So next time we'll get more of our thoughts on the PlayStation 5, and we'll get more of our thoughts on also what is to come with Xbox, with the new Xbox system, and where we think gaming is going. And hopefully, the next time we have an episode, I think it'll be around the time. I think there's going to be some new games coming out. So
Let's try it. We should try to do this weekly
yeah,
or
so
bi-weekly at least. That would get some more consistency.
yeah, so stay tuned for all of our updates in the channel. I'm gonna try to, like I said, we are gonna try to do this a little bit more often. So thank you for joining us, whether you're here live, which I don't think anybody's here live, but I'm hoping people catch the live stream or afterwards. So until next time, we love you guys. Please comment, please subscribe. You've already heard about all of our channel information, so I don't know if Daryl's going to do any more videos. I know I'm going to do some more videos in the future about gaming. So
I'm gonna try to get back into doing videos since I got my little stand here. But it's been the lighting's been really bad.
I'm going to present my next video is actually that's going to come out is about the most underappreciated system ever.
Dreamcast.
You're going to have to stay tuned for what that I pick. You know, you're going to have to stay tuned. I gotta make people be in suspense, but it's going to be an interesting video. So